So, you guys probably, if you guys have been on this channel, a lot of you guys do love like the classic pulp superheroes, like the Shadow, Green Hornet, Miss. There's even people on here I've seen love like Miss Fury and Black Bat and all of them. But there's one character that no one really talks about, and I think it's probably one of the most fun, most compelling stories, as well as one of the most fucking unhinged comics I've ever read. For the Dynamite Pulp era comics, and that is The Spider. So The Spider by David Liss specifically. Let me talk about my history with The Spider real quick. Actually, let's talk about the history of The Spider real fast. The Spider in Dynamite's continuity was a character named Richard Wentworth, who was a billionaire who went to train in Tibet, came back and to New York and became the Spider, who actually his design was actually an inspiration for the costume for Spider-Man. I mean, how could you not? But basically, the Spider is this brutal vigilante who goes around hunting down the criminal underworld and killing them, as per the course with a lot of the pulp era superheroes. But the thing of it is that the Spider was more or less kind of forgotten. It was a character that was thrown to the wayside of when Dynamite was really rolling out, like with Masks, as well as like the Shadow and Green Hornet, and like even like some other characters like Project Superpowers, where a lot of those characters were getting a lot of love. The Spider came out with one, and it only ran for 18 issues. But holy shit, is it really awesome for 18 issues. Now let's talk about my history with the Spider. My history with the Spider begins with my good friend Chris, aka the Mount Vernon Kid, sending me comics, single issues of the first 7 or 8 issues of the Spider. Basically, I was like, alright, it sounds cool. Chris was really talking it up, like, this sounds, it's gonna be really cool, it's a fun Dynamite book. And I was like, yeah, sure, it sounds cool. I mean, it sounds pretty fun. It might be cool. But then, lo and behold, the Spider turns out to be a lot of fun. And I never got the other issues, probably because I think Chris told me that he was having trouble finding them. And I never got the other issues, probably because he was like, I guess stores were not selling them or something. I don't know. But those original issues are still on my long boxes. And recently, and by recently I mean yesterday of this recording, I managed to get the second and third volume of The Spider. Basically completing my series. I couldn't find volume 1, but technically I do have volume 1, it's just in single issues. So I basically have the complete run of The Spider. Now, why am I doing this video? Because, first off, why not? Why the fuck not? I mean, it's my channel, I can do what I fucking want. Secondly, the reason why I wanted to, the reason I did this video is because no one talks about the Spider. Everyone talks about the Shadow and Green Hornet, and that's, Zorro and all these other characters, and that's good. They're all great characters. But when it comes to the Spider, especially the David Liss run, I was like, why isn't anyone talking about this comic? No one and yes, Dynamite didn't really hype up the character per se, but I will say that this I feel like it was undercut, and David Liss was a very underrated writer. He also did the the Shadow Now. I think he also did a few other Shadow books, and I think he still works for Dynamite, but I don't know what he's doing these days. But I think his crowning achievement was those 18 issues of the Spider, because the character of Richard Wentworth is not a good person. The best way I could describe the Shadow comics, I mean not Shadow, the Spider these comics, is basically, if you guys remember the Charlie Houston run of Moon Knight, where Moon Knight was completely psychotic and willing to take out anyone. This is the face-cutting character. This is the character like that Moon Knight who ran his plane into a building weeks after 9/11 to get at Taskmaster and left him mentally scarred for life because of it. It's like that. It's like that era of Moon Knight, but it's a way more brutal and way more adult version. It kind of makes me wish David List could do Moon Knight, but the Spider is a lot like that. If you enjoy Moon Knight, then here you go. There's a comic for you. There's a lot of great there's a lot of cool stuff in the first story arc, which is the Zombie Queen, and there's also great writing and there's actually great dark comedy in here, which it's gonna sound weird, but let me explain. There's basically a one and done story where this serial killer is kidnapping women and burying them alive, and the Spider is looking for him, and then he finds him masturbating over the buried alive woman, and he's like, the Spider bursts in, and he just comes in on this scene, not pun intended, he just bursts in on this scene and is like, he's got his gun drawn, and he's like, don't move, keep your hands up, please God, keep your hands up, and then proceeds to like brutally kill these guys. There's also another great scene where the cops who don't like the Spider, basically, like, where are you, where can I find you? He's like, where you can always find me, in your mom's house. And I'm like, Jesus. Damn, Spider, why do you, why you gotta shoot, why you gotta do that? There's also great there's great dark comedy in that writing. And also, Richard's kind of a complex person because he's also pretty self-destructive, and not someone you want to root for, but he's our main character. This is a guy who, like, his ex-girlfriend's dating the chief of police, and they both kind of know he's, like, say without saying that they know he's the Spider. But they're like, we don't want to, we don't want to get arrested, nothing, we don't want anything bad to happen to you. But he's like, fuck y'all, I get what I want. So he's kind of a broken he's kind of a broken being, and even like has had monologues where I'm like, I don't know if I'm doing this to protect the city or if I'm doing this to genuinely hurt people to make myself feel better. There's that level of complexity there. The comic does kind of wrap up a little fast because, again, it was 18 issues. I'm sure List wanted to go longer, but Dynamite was like, look, comic's not selling. You gotta let it go. But it was an underrated comic that got completely undercut. If you can find the trades, which you actually can, I think Amazon still has several of them, and Dynamite does publish them a lot. I would say go check this out. I normally don't do underrated comics, and you should go check them out. I usually do reviews, but this is kind of an and if this kind of video doesn't does well enough, maybe I will do a review of the 3 volumes of the Spider on a whole. But this video is more like, yeah, go check out the Spider. No one really talks about him. This is an underrated comic, and I really wish people would read more of it. And I want to thank my good friend Chris, who sent me the single issues years ago. So when I found both volumes 2 and 3, I was like, I have to get it. I have to go read more of the Spider. Anyway. So there you go, guys. I don't know what this video was. It was more like, hey, go check out the Spider. It's really cool. But yeah, if you are a fan of like characters like Moon Knight, The Shadow, Grendel, this comic's definitely for you. The Spider is definitely a comic for you. But anyway, so once again, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.